Hello, everybody. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere. And now I can see you all. I am live and loving it tonight. It is Sunday, December 15th, 2019, and I am delighted to share with you some tips and tools to allow you to thrive in change. Margaret, thank you for jumping on. Laura, I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Margaret, and I'm waving to Laura. Awesome. Thank you, ladies, for being here. We are going to talk about something very cool tonight. Very simple, very powerful. Not quite sure you're going to love it, but it's good for you. How's that? I promised in my Facebook tease that I had all the answers tonight, that we are going to talk about 5 pressures that the holidays bring to us. And I have the 100% solution for how you can fix it. And I'm not lying about that. Mary Bell Edwards, thank you. Missy, hi. Hi, Carol. And no, you do not get cookies because we only made 2 dozen. It took us 4 hours, demolished the whole kitchen, my granddaughter and I, and we made slightly less than 2 dozen cookies and sent most of them home with her. Ron, I'm glad you're here. Let me see. Oh, I think I've got everybody so far. Thank you guys for taking time out of your busy schedules to connect with me tonight. It feeds my soul, and I am very grateful. Sammy, glad you're here. So glad you're here. All right, so before we get started with tonight's part 3 of, ooh, Courtney and Abby are watching too. Yay! Hi, Courtney. Hi, Abby. Oh, I'm glad you guys were enjoying those pics of my granddaughter and me. They were fun. Jan, I'm glad you're here. It is good to see you. Jason from the Great White North, I'm glad you're here, connected to technology. Sheila, yes, Sheila just opened a business out on the west side of the state of Michigan called Lavender Florals, and it just so happens her last name is Lavender. So congratulations, entrepreneur, businesswoman Sheila. Jim, I'm glad you're here. Gina, glad to see you. It's been a while. So glad to have you here. All right, you guys. So we're going to get rolling. Just a quick review. We're on part 3 of Present, Not Perfect, How to Have a Merry Christmas. So many people say Merry Christmas, wish you Merry Christmas. I certainly wish people Merry Christmas. But there's not a whole lot of how-to that goes along with that. So that's what these 3 lessons, the past 3 weeks on Sunday Night Live, have been about. Trying to help people understand, help us all understand, how can we keep it a Merry Christmas? And in week 1, we talked about this concept of doing things with people instead of doing things for people. Doing things for people separates us from them. It causes us to stress out. We strive to be perfect. When we do things with people, we share our successes and our failures with them. We're authentic and we're real. So doing things with people instead of for people is one of the keys to having a Merry Christmas, having happy holidays. With, not for. Part 2, we talked about having open hands. Last week we talked about how important it is to be able to not just give things, give gifts, give our time, give our talent, but to be able to receive things from people. Because when we receive from people, we accept their invitation to connect, and that's what brings joy, is connecting with others. So we can get very protective of ourselves, keep our hands closed, give people something, and then I don't want anything in return. When actually the bigger gift for us would be after we give that trinket or that gift card to keep our hands open and receive the invitation back from them, whether they're giving us a physical gift or not, receive that invitation to connect. So that was last week, keeping open hands, being able to receive from people. That's the greatest gift of all, us being open to connecting. Lorraine, I'm glad you're here. Elizabeth, I'm glad you're here. You're just in time to hear tonight's principles. We are going to talk about pressures, 5 pressures that many of us fall prey to during the holidays, and some of us fall prey to all of them. So if even one of these applies to you, what we talk about tonight is going to help you have more joy. Daniel, I'm glad you're here. Hello, Laura. It's great to see you. All right, so we're going to talk about pressure points. In my Facebook tease, I mentioned that I have all the answers tonight. A lot of times I give you just tips and tricks and like, hey, try these and they might work for you, right? And I love the thumbs up. Tonight, though, I am 100% sure that I have the answer to the pressure that you feel during the holidays. I have the answer. I didn't say you were going to like the answer. I'm just telling you I have the answer, and this is it, in a nutshell. And we'll break it down. I'll talk about those 5 pressure points, but in a nutshell, this is it. Write it down. No matter who we want to blame for the pressure, we are the one who's making the rules. I'll say that again. No matter who we try to blame for the pressure that we feel, at the end of the day, we are the one who chooses. We are the one who picks the rules. So, the good news is, if you are feeling pressure during the holidays, and we're going to talk about 5 of them in just a second. If you're feeling pressure during the holidays, I have good news for you. This is something you can control. Whew. Carol's sending some hearts. Barbara, Pat, I'm glad you're here. This is something you can control. You control the rules. You set the rules of what you do, what your life is going to look like. Luke, hello. You set the rules. So no matter who you want to point the finger at and say, that person is making me XYZ, I'm here to give you really good news. You make the rules. So let's talk about those pressure points and some of the rules that we set for ourselves that cause us grief and stress. Even Teddy is upset about it. All right, so number 1 is this. The pressure we put on ourselves. The story we tell ourselves about what Christmas has to be. First one is this. I must find the perfect gift. I must find the perfect gift. One year, I had a list. We drew names in our family, so I did not have a long list. I had a list of a few people, maybe 5, that I needed to buy gifts for. And I went to the mall. And I remember vividly, this has been about 25 years, it's been a while, standing in the middle of the mall and looking at that list of 5 names and thinking to myself, seriously, there is nothing in this mall that they would like. And I was weeping. Nothing in a mall with 4 department stores. That dog's going to kill me. Nothing in the mall. 4 department stores, every little niche store you could think of. There was chocolate stores, there was tea, there was coffee, there was accessory. You name it, it was there. There was a Hot Topic, for Pete's sake. Everything you could think of to buy in that mall, and I am weeping. There's nothing here for anybody. Pressure on myself. I want you to know this. There is no such thing as the perfect gift. Do not believe the Jared Jeweler advertisements on television. Don't believe them. Even if you get that beautiful chocolate diamond necklace, it is not the perfect gift. There isn't one. There isn't one. So you can take that pressure and just set it aside because everybody's different. And it's never about, we know this up here, it's never about the things that we are exchanging. Hi, Michelle, I'm glad you're here. And Teresa, welcome. It is never about the things. So when we pressure ourselves to try to find the perfect thing, it's unnecessary pressure. I'm going to take you back to lesson 1, part 1, I should say, of Present Not Perfect. Doing things with people, not for them. Finding somebody the perfect gift is a useless endeavor. Because even if you do, it lasts this long. and the pressure you put on yourselves to try and outperform whoever else is doing the gift giving isn't worth it. Instead of telling yourself that you have to get the perfect gift, tell yourself, I am going to be thoughtful in what I choose. Not working to find the perfect gift. I'm going to be thoughtful in what I choose. What would that person like? What did they ask for? At the end of the day, if you can't think of anything, I'm giving you permission here and now, December 15th, 2019, buy a gift card, write a sincere note in the card on the back of it, tell them you love them and hand it to them and call it a day. It's just not worth the stress. You don't have to pressure yourself to find the perfect gift. Of course, when we've connected with people, when we genuinely allow them to be part of our life, when we give them a gift but also receive from them in a spirit of authenticity and exchange, that connection makes whatever gift we're giving far more valuable. The pressure does not need to be there to be perfect. All you have to do is be present, care, be sincere, and call it a day. All right, number 2. I must spend X amount of dollars. I've got to spend this much, or I don't care about my mother-in-law. I've got to spend this much, or my kids aren't going to believe that they had a good Christmas. This is pressure you put on yourself. These are lies we tell ourselves, that magic number is the thing that's going to make their Christmas perfect. It is not. I had a glorious, wonderful conversation with my daughter just before I started this broadcast. It was eye-opening to me. And she told me, she didn't know what I was talking about tonight. She told me that she remembered when my husband and I sat down with her and her brothers and told them, just so you know ahead of time, we don't have as much money this year as what we usually have to spend on gifts. And so you might not see as many gifts under the tree, but it's because we're on a budget. We want you to know that we love you very much, and it's just not going to look the same. And we didn't want you to be surprised or keep thinking there was maybe a really giant gift around the corner, because there isn't. What you see is what you'll get. Our kids were so wonderful about that when we told them. And she remembered us sharing that with her. And she said, I remember feeling that I didn't want you to feel bad, like you had to do something fantastic or spend a certain amount of money. So it was a wonderful thing to hear. And then she told me that Christmas, as her dad and I had shared with her, we only have a certain amount to spend. Just so you know, we love you, XYZ. She said she called her friend and asked her friend, what did you get for Christmas? And her friend's mom had spent $1,000, and her friend was yelling at her mom for having chosen gifts from the wrong store. Trying to put a dollar amount on stuff does not make up for what we did or didn't do all year. Trying to put a dollar amount on how much we have to spend does not mean how much we love somebody. It doesn't. That is pressure we put on ourselves. So in that vein, I just want to give you a little tip that I read today from Seth Godin. He put it in his blog. So if you get his blog and you read today's note, it's a little tip, but I love it and it fits right here. He said, if you're going to buy a gift for somebody, the way people are wired is buy them a really excellent version of something that's inexpensive instead of the mediocre version of something that's very expensive. So there you go. If you're trying to impress, that would be a good way to accomplish your goal. Instead of buying the mediocre version of something that's very expensive, choose something that's inexpensive, but buy the best possible thing. So in my case, it would be Burt's Bees lip gloss, because I happen to love Burt's Bees lip balm. It's not super expensive, but it's the best of the best as far as I'm concerned. So it doesn't always have to be a lot. Anyway, so pressure point number 1, I must find the perfect gift. Pressure point number 2, I tell myself, I've got to spend a certain amount or I've not done my job. All right. Number 3, and I have a feeling that this is going to irritate some of you, and I'm going to ask you to just listen and hear it for just a minute. Let it sit before you say, Shannon, you're crazy. All right, this is it. Number 3. One of the biggest pressure points that we feel during the holidays is it's a tradition. It's a tradition. It's a tradition that we always have Swedish meatballs at our Christmas Eve party. Yes, it might be. But Shannon, if your kidney has just exploded and you're laid up in the hospital until the day before, the tradition might just have to go by the wayside. Not a tradition anymore. Once you miss one, right, it's over. It's a tradition is pressure. It's peer pressure from dead people. I'll say that again. It's a tradition. Traditions are peer pressure from dead people. Folks, traditions are meaningful. They can bring us joy. They can bring us a sense of comfort. But if they are causing you pressure and misery, then that is a tradition. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to say goodbye. Because tradition is not law. It's not set in stone. Tradition changes because we change. I was talking with somebody who, we were talking about this idea of tradition, and she said it seems like some of those old traditions go away when the matriarch of the family passes away, or maybe it's grandma who passes away, or grandpa, and they were the one who liked things a certain way. And if we're not careful, that person is gone, and we loved them, but we can pressure ourselves to keep doing things the way they would have expected, and we kill ourselves. We make ourselves miserable when there are all kinds of new traditions that we can set for our kids and our grandkids, and we can hold them loosely. We can hold them loosely. Traditions are a wonderful thing, but I love this take on it. Instead of it being a tradition that we have to do it every year, it has to be done like this. These are Grandma's cookies. We have to have this kind of celery. We have to have the black cherry jello with shredded carrots and crushed pineapple, which was one of my traditions growing up. We have to have all those things. Pressure. I told you, you get to make the rules. What if you, every once in a while, celebrated that tradition? Remember when Grandma used to make that black cherry jello? I just made some. What do you guys think? It doesn't play as well in 2020 as it does in, 1965. Pick and choose your traditions and hold them loosely. I'm going to go back to this, doing things with people, not for them. The people who have passed on, the people who left us those lovely traditions, I have no doubt that they enjoyed them while they were here. And when we do them with a sense of joy and honor, it's a beautiful thing. But if it becomes a pressure and it's making you miserable, you get to set the rules. You get to start saying, I'm going to do that tradition every few years, just as a surprise for people. It's okay. It's okay. So mark it down. Shannon Lavrier said December 15th, 2019, that it's okay to break a tradition. In fact, you just might find you're going to start a new one. That's the opposite of pressure. Starting something new, being allowed to change, giving yourself permission to do something differently. Jerry Holland, good to see you. Don Clements, I'm glad you're here. Amy Shoop, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you guys for jumping on. We are talking about those pressure points that can just make us so miserable during the holidays. And I started out with this, and I'm just going to revisit it just so you guys get it loud and clear. No matter who we try to blame, when we're under pressure, we're the ones who are making the rules. we're the ones who are allowing that pressure to build and to dictate to us how we believe and behave. We get to choose to do differently. So in a way, that's bad news because we don't have anybody to blame, but it's wonderful news because we can own it and we can take control of our holidays and say, I am not going to allow the pressure to rob me of the present. I'm not going to allow the pressure to rob me of the present. All right, number 1, I must find the perfect gift. Pressure, you don't need it. No such thing as a perfect gift. Number 2, I must spend X amount of dollars in order to show somebody I love them. Not true. Number 3, it's a tradition. And tradition is peer pressure from dead people. Don't have to do it. Number 4, all the right people have to be here or else I can't be happy. All the right people have to be here or I'm just not going to be able to enjoy it. I've had this conversation with my mom. God bless her. And she loved nothing more than to have every one of her children in the room on Christmas Eve. Every one of her grandchildren in the room on Christmas Eve. My mom had 6 kids. Each one of us had spouses. When she died, she had 23 grandchildren. Her heart's desire was for every last one of us to be crowded around her at Christmas, enjoying the season, sharing the love. And I can't tell you how many times I would gently remind her, and thank God she listened. I would remind her, Mom, we're all here. I'm sorry that Megan is in Florida. I'm sorry that this one or that one isn't able to be with us, but you cannot be miserable in the midst of all of these people who love you. You cannot squander the present because you don't have everybody here. So easy for me to say to my mom because everybody I wanted was there. You know, I mean, I love my sister, but I can go by a Christmas without her. And I do love when you send me those hearts and emojis, you guys. It encourages me and it feeds my soul. So, easy for me to point the finger at my mom and say, Mom, you got to snap out of it. Let it go. But last year, my son and my daughter-in-law, my oldest son and his wife, decided that they were going to go and share Christmas in Florida with a beach and 90-degree weather. And they were not going to be with us on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I wasn't offended, but I was hurting. I wanted them to be by me. And for the first time, I actually realized what my mom was going through. And I was experiencing it for myself. The people that were nearest and dearest to me were not going to be with me on my special day. And I was so sad leading up to it. And finally, a wonderful, wonderful conversation with my husband turned me right again. Shannon, it is not about a day. It's never, ever about a day. And I want you to understand this. It is never about one day. Show your love the day before. Show your love the day after. Show your love a week before, a week after, 2 months, I don't care. It's not about a day. And when we wrap all of our hope into that day that everybody has to be there, everybody's got to be in the room, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment because it will never always look like that. I will never forget the Christmas Eve that the whole family is gathering at my house for Bobo Fest. Everybody is in the room except for my children who had the stomach flu and were sequestered back in their bedrooms. And it made me feel so sad. But you know what? We waited all year for that wonderful event where everybody got together and they were too sick to enjoy it. Guess what? we still were able to make connections with those people that we loved on a different day. It's not a one and done, people. When we pressure ourselves to think it's got to be perfect, we set ourselves up for disappointment and misery. Look at the Christmas season. Look at your life as a season. There will be an opportunity to connect and to embrace and to feel the love that we have for any of the people that aren't with us on the holiday. And if they are in the service, if they've passed away, we've got other ways that we can remember them and commemorate them. Don't worry. Don't pressure yourself that everybody has to be there for you to enjoy the holiday. Jamie, I'm glad you're... Oh, no, that's James. Hello, James. I'm just adamant about this piece of the holiday puzzle. Don't look at it as a one day, one and done. Look at it as a season. And if you have to expand the season so that you get to find your joy, you make the rules. You make the rules. Do it. If this holiday season has been an utter and complete disappointment for you, first of all, I'm sorry. I am really sorry, and I hope that something that I'm sharing here will help you to connect with joy. But if this hasn't been great, don't worry, because you'll have a chance to connect with people again. You'll have a do-over. You can start January and celebrate a new year. You can go to February and decide you want to get your friends together for Valentine's Day. This life isn't a one and done. It's not. You've got more opportunities. It's okay if everybody isn't in the room. Make room for people who come and go, people who travel. Leave some space for that. Diane, I'm glad you're here. All right, so number one, pressure. That's all of our own doing. We're in charge. I must find the perfect gift. No such thing. Number two, I must spend X amount of dollars or my kids, my spouse, my parents, my fill in the blank won't think I love them. Not true. Number three, it's a tradition. Pressure we don't need. Give yourself permission to break the tradition rule. Do something new that feels good and right for where you're at. Number four, pressure. All the right people have to be here or I'm just going to be miserable. So-and-so's missing. I can't enjoy this. Well, you might not enjoy it as much as you would have if so-and-so was there. But there is beauty in that moment. There's beauty in the people that you're with. Look for that beauty. Where our focus goes, our energy flows. Find that beauty. Embrace it. Look for it. Hold on to it. It's going to serve you well. And the last thing is, I have to decorate like Chip and Joanna Gaines or it's not pretty. Back in the day, it used to be Martha Stewart, right? Nowadays, it's Chip and Joanna. And they've probably got a Christmas tree in every room of their house, all made out of shiplap, all whitewashed to perfection, all perfectly aged from old barnwood. You're not Chip and Joanna Gaines. I'm not Chip and Joanna Gaines. I spent years and years and years not enjoying my Christmas tree because it didn't look like a picture from a magazine. I did not allow myself to enjoy my own Christmas tree because it didn't look like a picture from a magazine. And I'm not talking about the ones where you've got your kids' ornaments on them. That I always love that. I love that. But I also had this little piece of me that really wanted to have a picture-perfect Christmas tree. And I would do my very best to make it beautiful, just like you do your very best to make your home, your space beautiful. And then I would stare at the gap, the place where there should have been a bow, the spots where maybe we didn't quite have enough to fill. And I would allow those gaps to dominate the way I appreciated and enjoyed my decorating. There's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves to execute perfectly. We do not need to try and execute decorating our home like home and garden television. We just don't, and we can't. I hope you realize that all of those shows, the Pinterest pictures that you see, all of the television shows where they spend all that time decorating and fussing over making just the right food, there are a team of people standing behind them, making it work. Where's your team? Do you got a production manager back there? Do you have a designer back there? Do you have a chef back there behind you? If you do, mwah, kudos to you. But most of us don't. Let's get comfortable with appreciating the beauty that we have and not comparing it to somebody else's perfection. Comparison is the thief of joy. If we start looking at other people's Christmases, I'm going to tell you what we're going to see. We're going to see other people's Christmases. We are not going to see their drunk uncles. We are not going to see the kids with the diarrhea. We're not going to see that somebody has just spent their last dime to buy a gift card for somebody. We're not going to see all that. We're going to see the glossed over version. Everybody has a real life. When we pressure ourselves to look like the picture, we are doing ourselves a big disservice. Be generous to yourself this year at Christmas. Give yourself the gift that only you can give, and that is to take yourself out of the pressure situations that you put yourself into. Tony, I'm glad you're here. And Sandy, I'm glad you jumped on. Thank you. We're just wrapping up. This was part 3 of Present, Not Perfect, or How to Have a Merry Christmas. If you don't watch all of the parts, if you just now tuned in, if this is the only thing that you take away, this is enough to change your holiday. It is this: be present in every moment. You do not have to be perfect. In fact, the more perfect you are, the more walls you build. When you are present with people that you love and that you care for, it changes their lives. That connection is what truly matters, and that is what allows us to truly have a Merry Christmas. With that, I want to encourage you, leave your comments. I love to read them after we're done. They're helpful. Often what you put there is useful for other people. It helps them, feeds them, encourages them. So thank you for your generosity. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you next week, same time. And if for some reason you're not able to make it here live on Facebook, you can always go to my YouTube channel, search for Shannon LaBruyere, and you'll see my channel pop up. And we always post the latest and greatest Saturday Night Live, Sunday Night Live there for you. So be sure to check out YouTube. It's there anytime. And if you subscribe, it'll actually let you know every time a new video gets loaded. God bless you all. I love you. Thank you for being here. Have a great night. Bye-bye.